Hey guys, this is Trajan. We're talking about Thor number one. Jason Aaron's new number one for Thor. Again, I think this is like his fourth or fifth one. But this is coming hot. After, just kidding, it's a trash book. It's coming after what I thought was the number one, but was actually just like a number one special, basically putting over Jane Foster because why not? And in fact, this book should be called Thor number one. You guys should still like the Jane Foster, and I don't understand why you don't. That's what this book should be called, because he spends the whole fucking book putting over Jane Foster. There are two stories in here. There's the main story with the Thor that we love and know, and there's a second story with Old Man Thor, or King Thor, from the future. And I liked King Thor a lot from Thor, God of Thunder. He was actually my favorite of the three Thors. But he spends significant time in both stories putting over Jane Foster. Now, putting over is a wrestling term. I've described it before. When somebody loses a wrestling match, they're putting over the winner. When you put over the winner, you're basically making them look good so that people want to come and see the winner. So they want to spend their money and buy tickets to see the winner fight more. So Thor spends this entire time putting over Jane Foster as Thor. And let's talk about something. The idea that Thor, because at a certain point he says, "Oh, it's my first week back as Thor," and I'm already messing up. He says something along those lines. The fact that Thor is this title and they've retconned it to being a title is horrendous. He is Thor. Odinson is Thor. You can make the God of Thunder a title or Goddess of Thunder a title, but he is Thor. You don't become Thor. Now you're going to give the argument, well, there should always be a God of Thunder, and maybe the God of Thunder, in their tongue is Thor. No, but he is Thor. Like, when we're talking about Thor, when you say Marvel's Thor, you think about Odinson. You don't think about Jane Foster, all right? It's not a title that can be given willy-nilly. And in fact, I believe when other people have wielded Mjolnir, they were not referred to as Thor. So why did they do it? They did it because they were doing the diversity push, and they wanted to retcon Jane Foster as Thor. Because women. I was very disappointed with this because Jason Aaron has been firing on all cylinders. Southern Bastards, at least the first trade paperback, I thought was pretty good. I have some reservations, so I'm going to read the second one. I liked his Avengers run. I loved Scalped. That's like how I came to know Jason Aaron. But the art style in this is this pseudo-painted style. I don't think it's actually painted. I think it's just made to look like it's painted. And it utilizes pastels. I didn't like it. I don't like it at all. It kind of grows on you as you read it, but that doesn't mean you like it. It just means like you kind of, you can deal with it. So by the midway through the book, I wasn't like killing myself because of it. Anyway, Juggernaut shows up. Juggernaut kicks the shit out of Thor, by the way. But this panel in particular, when I saw it, I knew what we were into. This is Jason Aaron's new Twitter header, by the way. And when I saw it, I thought it's going to be one of those books. I don't feel like Thor should be played for campiness. I think that Thor is one of those characters you have to play straight. He is a god. He is a proud god, as most of the classical god pantheons were filled with proud gods. You can't play him for laughs, and you shouldn't play him for laughs. Thor and Captain America in particular are two characters I think should always be played straight. Obviously, you got guys like Spider-Man. You have, currently Hawkeye, even though I kind of disagree with that. But Iron Man, I think you could definitely play Iron Man for campiness. Booster Gold, you could play for campiness. Like, there are characters you can do it with. Flash, to a certain degree, you could do it with also. But there are other characters, like Batman, you can't play Batman for campiness. Not anymore, at least. Sure, in the 60s you were able to do it, but no way anymore. And so this just kind of undermines everything. Anyway, Thor kicks the shit out of him. There was one cool, I kind of like this. So he has, the whole point of the book is that he's looking for these like lost weapons and relics. These dwarves keep forging Mjolnir for him, and Mjolnir keeps breaking. So at a certain point he's like, my hammers keep breaking. I need you to send me all the hammers you have. And they send literally all the hammers. It was kind of a cool scene. But otherwise, so we have this scene. So we have strong independent woman number one, right? All right. Look, for the last time, I don't care which god once turned which other's god grandmother into a goat. We are not switching room assignments. And the next person who asks me when the house wenches are coming round with supper will find themselves signed up for a week of scrubbing toilets. hey, no dragging your shit on the floor. Like, all right, fine. She's a strong, independent woman. I fucking get it. Who gives a shit? Anyway, Jane Foster shows up. This is kind of where the putting her over begins, because he basically spends this whole time like talking, like you get the impression that he kind of wishes she was still Thor, and and like he talks to Freya about it. I don't know. It was just, didn't she, wasn't she supposed to die? And then she says like, no, I'm getting better. I'm responding to treatment. So, oh, you know what this is? This is them, because it happens again in the second story. This is them saying, all right, people didn't, like, because of the diversity initiative, people kind of rebelled against it. So they want their old characters back. So we're going to give them Odinson as Thor again. But you know what? We're going to slip in without them realizing Jane Foster and hope she grows on them. And it's just like, we see what you're doing. We know what you're doing. Stop it. Stop. STAHP. Stop. I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. This is why I'm not buying this fucking book anymore. Anyway, so then we have this part. All right, so Loki tried to kill Freya, and Thor wants to beat the shit out of Loki. Fine, comes back later. We have this part where he's engaged in a battle, and I was like, I saw this. I was like, all right, this is cool. This is cool. We're gonna see Namor whoop some ass. All right, let's do this. So he's fighting Namor, and I don't know if I'm missing a page, but then it just cuts straight to this scene. It's like, what the fuck happened? Who cared? Like, there was no consequence to that fight whatsoever. Anyway, so we have some hilarity with Thor's dog. Spoiler, it's not really that funny. Loki shows up, and they have a little, like, kerfuffle, and Loki transports him basically to Hell, and they're gonna and Thor grabs Loki and is like, nah, you're coming with me, bitch. And so, yeah. But nobody cares. Like, who gives a shit? And he's gonna have to fight these guys, but I don't give, like, nobody, like, there's no, there's no consequences, there's no, like, nobody gives a fuck about this. Like, it's obvious you just want us to focus on Jane Foster at this point. This is gonna be fucking ridiculous. Anyway, Old Man Thor. Let me talk about Old Man Thor, because I actually liked Old Man Thor, King Thor, a lot. Because when he was introduced in Thor God of Thunder, he was god of a dying realm. He was the all-father of a multiverse that was on the brink of destruction. Everything was dying around him, and it was his fault. And there was a sadness about him where he desperately wanted to try to fix everything, but he knew that it was futile. There was like a 90% chance of it being futile, nothing happening. And yet he knew, I have to try. And that was, I loved it. I loved every second of it. But then you have his granddaughters, and I was so concerned about this. I knew they were going to show up because he had them in the last issue, the one shot about Jane Foster. And there they were basically female empowerment, right? If you just go ahead and read it. I might do a video on it later, but go ahead and read it. It's essentially female empowerment. Fine. But they're just like meme queens, and they just like meme, and it's like dealing with Black Panther's sister, who is just like the meme god. It's just like, no, but it's all dead memes. Just stop. Like, they talk about the shark. He's fighting a shark. Oh, look how awesome that shark is. Oh, I want to keep it. Oh, like all this other shit. It was just ridiculous. Where was it? Oh, and then they chum the waters. All right, and look. It's processed wheat gluten mostly. Like, all right, shut the fuck up. It's like these little things that they slip into the stories, and you're just like, because it's a pattern. I've described in other videos that this behavior is a pattern. Once in a while, it's not really a big deal. If you see it kind of like randomly, it's fine. But when you start noticing the pattern, you're just like, hang on, you're doing something. You're trying to subvert me somehow. Anyway. So then he goes back to New Midgard, all right? And who's there? Jane Foster. Jane Foster's there, all right? And basically he puts her over as like this, like, great, as the all mother, all right? She dies. Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. We're not gonna have to deal with her shit anymore. And so he goes and he like gives like, he cuts a promo on her basically about how great she is. Like, she's gonna fight for the fucking world heavyweight championship, all right? And how basically everybody should like essentially worship her. He just cuts this like massive promo on Jane Foster, and it's like, is this necessary? Is this really necessary? And you're gonna see why I'm gonna ask, is this necessary? Because it's obvious they don't give a shit about this story. Is this really necessary? Like, it's obvious that what you're trying to do. You're trying. First of all, since she survives, we can kind of assume that she survives in the first story also, and that she's going to play an important role in the first story, which nobody wants. Oh, it's like literally the reason that we didn't want this. Anyway, Mjolnir talks to him and says, yo, some shit's going down, so he flies out, and something actually cool happens, because he shows up, and it is God in spoilers. He shows up, and it is God-infused Wolverine, which I thought was pretty cool, actually. So I saw this like, oh, all right, this is cool. Kind of older man Logan with God powers. All right, let's do this. And it was at this point where I was like, you know what? Maybe I will buy issue 2. Maybe I'll buy issue 2 just for this story. And then I looked down to be continued in Thor number 5. What the fuck? Why? What you should have... This is just nonsense. At this point, you should have just had this as a mini. All right? And published it separately from this fucking ridiculous book. Thor number 1, you should still like Jane Foster. You should have had this as one story, and then had kind of like the God-infused battle as the second story, because that would have been cooler. This book is trash. I'm very upset. I'm distressed. I can't believe I spent money on this. I don't know. It seems that Twitter. I haven't watched anybody's videos on this, but it seems that the Twitterverse kind of agrees with it. It's. I see what you're doing, and I know it's not. I know it's not. It's not the writing itself. It's the story arc. Unfortunately, I think Jason Aaron did plot the story, so it's not even like we blame anybody else. This is a misstep. This is a bad idea. I'm just gonna wait for this on Marvel Unlimited at this point. I might pick up issue 5 just to follow the God-infused Logan arc. Otherwise, fuck this. All right. Let me know what you guys think. What did you think about Thor number 1? Am I off base? Am I looking too much into the promos on Jane Foster? Am I seeing Charlie in the trees, or am I right? And that's exactly what they're doing. Let me know. Anyway, you can follow me on Trajan channel at Twitter. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later. I do appreciate the legacy numbering.